While Mr. Hammond is checking his hair while in the kitchen, welcome.
Mine
It
too.
is
Just,
episode number 125 of The Other Side of the Ball. It's the final show before there will actually be football played in 4 days. So we get to preview week one, and then games and action will finally happen. And maybe, just maybe, this season, which is one of my big season wishes, I wish for one Corey Hammond to have at least one victory Monday in 2025. That is my hope for you, Mr. Hammond.
Yeah, what a humble and kind troll, my friend Dub. No, I
That's
know
not
I
a
know you're being
troll.
genuine, but yeah, I just got off of a team call because one of the toughest obstacles the Hawks face is getting out to Indy. So
I forgot you guys
that
got
is that is the job in front of us. But gentlemen, we have some rankings, we have some matchups,
Yes, yes,
and we have
yes,
some football.
By the
yes.
way, Corey, how far of a drive is it from where you guys are out to play these guys?
About 10 hours. So
Oh,
Jesus.
I've taken longer rides. I've definitely taken shorter. But we're headed out Friday night, Saturday morning, early as hell. We should get there, check in for Saturday, and depending on how everything goes, we'll either leave Sunday night or Monday morning. And we're uh, we're excited. I actually was talking to Brent Smothers,
Mm,
of
hmm.
former real Sin City lore. Now with the
Crush.
Queen City Crush, and the Ohio teams are going to be interesting this year. But the scouting report for the Octane is um, quarterback Tyler Pennington coming over from the Crush.
Is he related to
He's going to
Chad Pennington?
no,
Okay.
that I know of. I don't know. Maybe, but um, he's kind of like he's like if me and Scooter got fused into like a one person. He's like if there's an evolution stage, he would be the middle stage. It would be me, Dad Bod, him, the middle evolution, and then the fully evolved Pokemon would be the forklift, Scooter Hamilton. But and then what's interesting about the Octane is they lost James Mitchell, so they're gonna have guys. It's gonna be a good game, but the Hawks. First job is first goal is get out there, and then once we are, then I keep checking the weather. It was supposed to rain, now it's not. So let's cross our proverbial fingers.
So, are you guys taking separate cars? Are you guys taking a 15
Yeah,
passenger
there's going to be a
van?
van. There's going to be a van, and then there's going to be my van. So as everyone knows, I have this crazy amount of kids.
I speaked to the Octane. You mean
Well,
you spoke to
listen,
the Octane?
thank you for Jordan Davidson. I appreciate you doing that. But all jokes aside, this game is just another one of many for our squad. I'm not selfish enough to make this all about me. The Hawks as a team haven't won since they existed a couple years ago, so this isn't about Corey Hammond, but the Hawks getting their first win. And we actually have a favorable schedule, so if we take care of business in week one, then in week two we face an expansion team. Week three we have a game that should be good but is winnable. And then our fourth and fifth game, they're not against the U or the Insomniacs or BIC. So, we're going to take it one week at a time. But, I appreciate Jordan Davidson, cookies and milk out there, spreading the good word. But I know for a fact that those Octane guys are trying to get a win as well.
Well, Monday, we'll have to see if you get to celebrate a little bit with that dub. I'm
Yeah,
hoping you.
I should be calling the 4 and 7 o'clock games. So win or lose, the chat will be able to
Now,
roast or congratulate accordingly.
now, are you gonna be calling those games remotely from Indianapolis?
I think so. The when I talked from yeah, I can't fly back in. Um,
We'll
can
get
we
all to
get
that.
this?
We'll get all to that in a few seconds. Go. Just bear with us.
No, I think yeah. Let's jump off the Hawks thing. We can get to it when we do games of the week, but I think a good place to start is that top seven. Like what I will say to the A7FL community is my votes. Just to be clear, were only five, and the top five of all time are Dylan, 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 Dylan,
Oh yes,
Dylan. I spit hot
Dylan,
fire.
Dylan, Dylan. I spit hot fire.
Yeah,
I
so
spit hot fire.
that's as serious as I took the first preseason.
Well,
Uh,
I
Well,
can. Well,
me,
I can say for
it
me.
was. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Dub. I'll tell you
Well,
afterward.
I can say for me. I know my top four is based off how they finished last season, which was
Correct.
Insomniacs, BIC, you, and Sick, because those were the final four from last season. So that's how I did my top four, and then the other two is who I think is ascending. But mainly for me, now again, more speaking for me, the top four was strictly based off of how they finished 2024,
Dude,
which
our minds think too much alike. That's exactly what I did.
well,
That's exactly what I did. The top four from me were exactly how they finished because they, you're going into you're having a preseason uh, top seven. How am I jumping anybody over how they finished last year when we haven't played a game? So
well,
I'm with you.
I think similarly to what you guys are saying, there is a meaningless there is a meaningless kind of aura around a preseason top seven because it's mostly conjecture. But Dub, if you could enumerate, if you have it in front of you,
I do.
who the top seven is, and then we can kind of go and say, what these teams may look like preseason. Because Danya the Goat has, that's a great point. Uh, but if we look at who's in the top seven, who's outside of it, maybe that'll help explain what we're looking at.
hold
Dub, do
on,
you have
sir.
it or do you want me to say it?
No, well, actually, I'm gonna grab the graphics so we can just show the audience exactly
Okay.
what came down. So just bear with me for a minute. But
If you want
we
to
are
go ahead and talk, I can pull it up.
go ahead.
Okay.
Which we are excited to let you know that indeed season 11 is coming to the A7FL as we are starting this upcoming Sunday. Again, A7FL.TV opening day starting at 1 Eastern, 10 Pacific, which would be 11 Central Time, and that would mean it would be 7 a.m. if you're waking up in the beautiful islands of Hawaii, if you will. So there you go with that. Um,
And as Chris pulls them up, I mean, let's just start with the top, right? No surprise, no confusion, and I
and
think no
joining us
reason.
from, well, he goes to many camps and coaches many camps because he is actually a living coach, but getting ready to prepare to defend his title on this upcoming Sunday against the Gold. The other quarterback to the other side of the ball, Scott Scooter Hamilton. Stay warm in those winds outside there, sir.
What's up, fellas? What's
Well,
And
we're
Scotty,
going
if
over the
you're muted,
top
we
seven,
cannot hear
so
you,
we
buddy.
could
Unmute your
start,
mic.
and that's a good transition, Scooter. Thanks for
All right.
jumping on at the
And
right
as you
time.
see right there, these are the official Week 1 rankings, if you will, of this upcoming season.
Let me see if I can zoom that in just a
As you
little
see, the
bit.
defending champions coming in at number 1, the BIC, who finished second last year at number 2, the U at number 3, and this time they have the Watchmen, who didn't even win or lose a playoff game. They got disqualified. Come in at preseason number 4. Everybody's favorite darlings, the Silk City Animals, coming in at number 5. Sick with it, who finished, of course, second in the West last year at 6. And the East Orange Renegades rounding out this top 7 preseason list, if you will, at number 7. Obviously, I can see why they put the animals in number 5 because that, as we said, they've been everybody's darlings and everyone's talked about in the off season. And of course, the big question is, can they take that next step starting Sunday here in 2025? Obviously, you know that the UNBIC are going to rebound, reload, revamp, and try to get back what they feel like it is theirs, which is the crown. Of course, the Insomniacs, who have said, "Watch out, the players that we've added. Watch out for the Wolfpack," as of course they try to make history. Look, I don't know what you want me to do. Okay, can you hear me now?
I
Yeah,
got you, bro. I can hear you for sure.
perfect. Heard you when you were saying you're good.
And Bino says, finished 0-7 and being ranked number 7 is crazy. Well, you know what?
Well, does
I
everybody
just
want
can
to
only do
hear?
one vote.
Does everybody want
I
to
only
hear
have
what
questions
the?
about the Renegades and the Watchmen. That's when I'll be asking questions. Well, Goat,
Does everybody
what
want to
is your
hear the
well?
full
What's your question
rankings?
about the Watchmen? Because I mean, them coming in at 4. Um, I mean, again, a lot of people have the chance to vote on this, and then this is what it came up with. What's your question? And we'll do our best to try to answer it.
Well, does everybody want to hear what the full ranking is based on, uh, stat guy Cole Gardella's votes counted?
Sure.
So we have the 7 that are on the board. 8 is the QC Crush. 9 is the Hawks. 10 are the Stealth. 11 are the Buzz. 12 are the Heathens. 13 Octane. 14 Gold.
And there's a
15
whole
Hunters.
lot of crying that's going on right now. What's
Oh,
going on
I'm
now? We,
I'm
we okay
my
over
bad
here?
because I was in between.
Chris, you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yeah, I could hear you,
I
Corey.
cannot hear anybody. What is going on?
Oh, yeah, Dub's out.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Did you guys hear the full list that I
Yeah,
gave?
yeah,
Yes, sir.
I heard you, Corey.
Okay,
Yes,
yeah, because
sir.
I was back and forth
Anybody
from the
hear me?
Discord where it was that and then this one. So to
Hello,
to
anybody there?
answer,
And
we're
hopefully
here,
Scott
Dub.
will
You're
make
just
his
not.
way back in very shortly. Um,
Um.
for whatever
So
reason, I don't know why, Chris, I cannot hear you.
Don't worry, Corey. I just put up that let Dub know that we
Okay.
could hear and each other.
okay. So to answer the comments about the
All
East
right.
Orange Renegades,
Um,
there's two
Corey, are you
things that
okay
I.
over there? No, I don't smoke cannabis, so that would be a lie. I'm not high.
Dub, 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 dub.
Dub, can you hear us at all?
Corey, I can't hear you.
All right. Well, you're the only one that we can't hear. So, come back on.
Why
I don't know.
cannot I
Somebody,
not hear anything?
somebody, tell this guy. All
I
right,
got him.
Dub, please. Anyway, so to answer the commenter's question, East Orange Renegades, they did add
This is really making me upset.
something that will make a lot of our Vegas guys happy, especially if they want to, dunk on Corey Hammond. And I guess the consensus for people voting for them. Remember, this is not my vote. I'm a former Renegade. A, B. You'll hear in a second why I don't necessarily believe that this was like a life breaking, a game changing move that they made. But former BIC safety, and viral, hit stick maker in the A7FL, Ron Clerk, took over the reins as general manager for the Renegades. And what he did is infused the existing roster with the TMU flag team that apparently is a successful flag team in the greater New Jersey area. Uh-oh. Double Corey is.
I got you. I just muted Dub. It's coming from him.
All right. So long story short, the Renegades believe in their mind, right? And I guess that followed with the vote. The Renegades believe that they are shoring up, a team that has some talent, but obviously struggled last year in a tough division.
Yeah.
And with their additions on offense and the chemistry that they bringing in not only a quarterback that I think that they like, but skill position guys all over that they like. Something's happening. Scooter,
Yeah,
you're watching something.
yeah, that's Scoot.
Long story short, the Renegades believe that they have answers for their issues in the past. Now, I don't know who voted for them there, but if you go through my list that I said, I think the reason they're there is a lot of people are probably not sure about the crush at 8
Well,
because yet, yes,
uh,
the crush. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there was a question that popped up while you were talking that, and I'm going to put it up here. Y'all got the Hunters at 15. Or excuse me, they say the disrespect is insane. Well, let me tell you something real quick, Cameron. That wasn't us. So make sure that you understand that this was put to a vote, and people were able to vote, and it was a coach's vote. It was us, and it was other people. So this wasn't us putting this list together. So make sure that we understand that. We didn't sit around and went, okay, here's our top 10, here's our top 15, here's our top 20. This was voted on by the coaches. So if you want to know who you should say are disrespectful, go talk to your coach,
Well, and
because
listen,
that's actually where it came from.
anybody that's upset with their preseason ranking or even rankings later on in the season, they don't matter if you're a player as
That
much as maybe they should. And if the Hunters believe that they're being disrespected, tell me what they did in the offseason to jump in front of some of the teams in front of them. Because if you look at the team that I think is most disrespected, it would be the QC Crush that are basically the bulk of a heist team that was in the top 10 for much of the year. And the Sin City Chaos, the fake Sin City at this point, Chris, let's be honest, who listen, if you took the Force and Siquidit and combined those teams and then said, oh, that's a new team, I'm not sure who they'll be, let's keep them out of the top 7, that would be disrespect to me.
right.
If you take a team in the Hunters that is a plucky team that fights hard and is better than the Gold, right? They're
Yeah.
better than the Pit Bosses, but they haven't done anything. I wouldn't necessarily be dying on the hill of, oh, the disrespect, when it's a preseason poll. This is
Yeah.
based on conjecture, and if you feel disrespected, then prove it on Sunday.
Well,
Because I believe the Hunters do have the bye, though. Or
Corey,
no, they're the feature game.
Stealth has a buy. But what I was going to say was that it's pretty simple. Everybody that voted on the teams they knew. So if you were a new team coming in, like the Stealth or some of the other new teams that people didn't know, or like Jason pointed out, which is 100% true, the Force was still on there, Stealth wasn't. So you start to look at these teams, and what do players here's the thing that cracks me up the most. When you say you were disrespected, what do we know of, and this is going to play out real easy. What did we know of the Hunters over the last couple of seasons? They weren't as good of a team, and we knew that they were growing, but where were they? So of course you're going to be lower ranked, because that's what everybody knew. So we don't even know. While Cameron is on here saying that they're being disrespectful or being disrespected, dude, I couldn't even tell you who's on their squad right now. The only ones that I know for sure are Loke and Shep. That's it. So if you could tell me who else is on the squad, then that's going to kind of trickle down to everybody else, including the guys that voted. And then they'll start to understand who the team is. But dude, you're the only one that knows exactly who the team is. You, the coach, and the other players. We still have not seen rosters from any of the teams. So everybody's going off the players, or excuse me, the teams that they knew. And that's what they were fixated on. And I, like Dub, we did the same thing. Our top 4, which isn't even represented on here, because Baltimore Watchmen was not my 4th. Sick with it was. Why? Because that's the way they finished up last year. Period. So
Well,
if you
and
don't want to
and
be
if anybody's
disrespected in
being disrespected,
preseason,
Chris,
what
right?
difference does it make? It's when you start to know, and when you start to see these teams play on Sunday, that's when all this, because don't forget, this is going to go on all throughout the season. That's when coaches are going to start to pay attention, and that's when you're going to move up the rankings. Period.
Well, and let me just ask the hypothetical, like, what have the Hunters? Not saying that this whole list is
Well, hold on,
based
Corey,
on merit.
just real quick, because I know that we'll get into it. I just want to say something to this comment. He says,
Yeah.
y'all know damn well saves there. League posted it today in that video. I just got home, dude. Stop thinking that I'm paying attention to everything that goes on with this every second of the day. I don't. Corey, you just got home. You got other things to do besides just jumping on here or looking at all kinds of stuff that's going on. We're trying to talk about the stuff that we know. Players at this point know more than we do because around the league, because they talk to each other. I
Well,
have
and
a
the
chance
guys
to talk
on that roster
about during the
know,
week.
I guess.
Yeah.
I'll ask this: who's your guy's quarterback, and how does he translate into wins against the top teams in the division? Who's your guy's offensive line, and how does that translate? What are you guys going to do with the defense? Because there are guys that I can vouch for
So,
that are
well,
good.
hold on, Corey. This is what he says. This
Yeah,
right
Yodi.
here. Oh, no,
So
no,
here's the thing.
hold on. This was before the Yodi. Y'all will
Okay.
just have to see. But that's what we've been saying.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
We
and
have
listen.
to see.
Okay,
Go ahead.
so
Sorry.
so let's just walk through the Hunters thing, and then leave it at that. Okay, you guys have Savion Cunningham, which is interesting, and will add points to the. How did that work for OTT, and where would you put an OTT if they just came in as they existed, right? If you took OTT, came in as they existed, where would you put them? I don't know where I put them. I don't know if I would put them behind the Renegades. But I'm telling you right now, if a team is disrespected, it's the undefeated core mixed with the second place team in Ohio that have combined with the Crush, and they're not even on here.
Yeah, they're not even
When
in the top 7.
when to be honest, in my opinion, no disrespect to the Renegades, but they haven't proven anything. I think that that's ridiculous. And as much as we love the animals, and I love a lot of the things the animals are able to do and what they have kind of put together last year,
Mhm.
they never beat a winning team. Now
Exactly.
neither did the Hunters. And to be clear, if anybody's being disrespected based on just the preseason, it's Siquidit. But guess what? Siquidit lost their quarterback. They lost offensive line. They lost playmakers. And they're going to have to prove that they were able to replenish the talent that they lost because they did win the regular season out in the Western Conference.
Well,
They
and we
lost the.
know, here's a curveball for you. And I don't know this, okay? So don't anybody take this and say, "Oh, it's rumor." I don't know this. I'm throwing this out there because we know that the existence of the Force is no longer. But what I'm looking at is, and I'm throwing this out there, Corey, because I was thinking about this today when I called you earlier today.
Yep.
This is exactly what I was going to say to you because I was thinking about it. I'm driving, I'm going from one customer to the next, and I started thinking about it. I'm like, dude, I got to call Corey because I'm going to throw this at him, and he's going to be like, oh shit, I didn't even think about that. What if Dion Fox is Siquidit's new quarterback?
Well, I think that would, first of all, that would be awesome because I want to see the kid in the league.
So do
Here's
I.
the thing. I'm not sure Fox is even going to be allowed to play because of what the Force did and why they did it and where they're going. So, look,
But is
there's
he?
there's
Do we know that he is playing with the Force in that league?
exactly that. Here's the thing. What the Force did left the division with a lot more questions than answers.
Correct.
And we last week just had on the we'll say the architect of the stealth. And Lee was very confident in it's so confident that he made a bet with Scott
Mm-hmm.
Hamilton,
Mm-hmm.
right? Um, I think that the league as a whole or the community as a whole had a little bit of pushback to that confidence. So even a team that says that they have the core of OTT, except for Savion, that has a decent amount of guys from the Force and a lot of bravado and confidence in their ability. Yeah, they're ahead of the Hunters, but listen, Hunters have the game of the week at 7 p.m. against Sickwood, don't they?
They sure do.
Mm-hmm.
So, uh, listen, uh, and
Well,
look at Jordan Davidson coming in with an Iquan Corsi take.
well, here's
That could be awesome.
my take on this whole thing, and this is where I have the. It's not even a problem because it's you know we have no idea, but until we start to see, um, until I start to see rosters and I start to see who's on what team, everything, and we could say this is the only thing I could say with absolute confidence. We don't know who's playing where. So
Well, I actually I've been vocal in the past saying that I think that when I watch Yodi Mack play, in the partial snaps that he has for OTT,
uh,
that he does have some ability. I think that it's going to be interesting with him going, given it sounds like, based off of what we hear in the chat from the guys that are on that team, he's going to be given the go ahead as the starting quarterback. I'll ask this, of the guys that are on this list, I would want to point out a team, everybody that they think they can beat sick, sure topic of discussion, LMAO. Packer always not trying to start any type of kerfuffle, right? He's never in the middle of a kerfuffle. Daniel
Well,
Packer.
well,
Shout outs
again,
to Pack, by the way. Shout outs to
a-
Pack.
as
dude,
I
that's
have said,
like that.
since Sick has been in the league, and this is now their third season, there is only one team in this league that has beaten them, and that is only the Insomniacs. So, and I get it. Yes, you lose players, but again, as me and Chris said last week, if you really truly think that Coach Mark Gray is not out there getting people with his pedigree, then you don't know Jack ish.
Well, our like big time reporter extraordinaire, cookies and milk Cam Jordan Davidson, if his
He's built
conjecture if
crazy.
his conjecture is correct, one of Dub's kind of like shining stars or hidden gems in the Vegas division, Iquan Corsi, if he's able to work with, going from the pit bosses where he was kind of trying to make things happen
Mm-hmm.
with an empty cupboard, to
Mm-hmm.
to be fair, if he's going and working with Darren Palmer and Mora and Betts and some of the guys that we have grown used to seeing with Sick that haven't been confirmed out, Iquan Corsi could have a extremely great year,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And if that's the case, I'm not going to say that the Hunters are out of it, but guess what? Anybody that has an issue with where they are placed on this list, Sunday is a great opportunity
Yes.
to make your statement known. And I will say this, I don't think that I've seen anything from the Hunters that would, confirm to me that this is the team that's the number 2 to beat in the division. But what's awesome for them is with the uncertainty, with some of the other things going on with Sick with it, they have an opportunity week 1 to really take hold of that number 2 spot and play from ahead,
Agreed.
because I don't think the Hunters are on the same level as the Insomniacs. Maybe
Can we
they do.
all sit here right now and agree to one thing? The top 7 is preseason.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to change throughout this
Mm-hmm.
regular season because every week it's going to go back to a coach's poll.
Mm-hmm.
So we know it's going to change every single week. So to say that there's disrespect right now, to me, is laughable because nobody's played a game, not one game. So you could go from ranked, I don't know, 20th on this to number 2 over the course of the season,
I'll say this,
all the way up
as
to 1 in the
as
course.
insane as it sounds, the team that is last on this list, I don't even know who this person is. That's fine.
You know,
Yeah, good. I mean, you got a ring, which is nice, but I don't know if it's because you got married or if it's because you joined up a team that you didn't play on. But I'm
He
I'm
was
proud
on
of
the
you, Dino.
he was on the Insomniacs last season.
Bro, I get that. That's what I'm saying.
Oh.
And if he's doing the thing that I am suggesting guys do, so that he can get more run. I appreciate it. But I'll say this to Bino: as many wins as you got on the side, like watching on the sidelines last year, I have over 50 as a starting quarterback in the league. So I'm glad that you're catching up to me. But and the championship win does matter. But saying that you won with a team last year does not then preclude us to then honor your new team with a hypothetical respect. That
I don't know.
seems crazy.
I don't know.
That
Did he leave the Insomniacs?
He's on the Hunters.
Oh, okay. Okay. I see.
well,
I have not seen rosters, so I couldn't tell you.
so
No
he's
idea.
doing. I mean, I congratulate him. I think that that's a better move for guys, right?
I
And
think
Bino, guess what? If you got good film on the Insomniacs and the 3 or 4 plays you had all season, then put it on the Hunters as a starter. And guess what? You'll immediately become a more high profile name in the league. And here's Packer who switches teams every year, just like Corey Hammond. Maybe I should join BIC, guys. Is that what I should have done? No, guys, come on, come on, come on. It's not about Corey Hammond, and I didn't get a ring. That's true. But I also have been a 13-year starter in this league, and it sounds like other than Packer, there's a lot of backups talking. But here's the point: it's not about me, and I'm just going to talk shit. So I apologize if this becomes a thing. But guess what? The Gold are the last place team on this list. Going to Chris's point, so that we can kind of move on from this top 7, which I think we could all agree is fun, but it is meaningless until we see what happens.
exactly.
If the Gold shock the world, which I don't think is going to happen, I really don't have confidence that the Gold are just going to come in week 1 and shock the Insomniacs. But let's say hypothetically, in an alternate universe, that did happen. Guess what happens with the Gold then? They make the top 7. They get the respect for beating a team that we all know is great. And then we can talk about what happened in that game and break it down. So,
Not
So,
just that,
Corey,
that would be a heck of a way to get your first ever win in the league for the Gold.
yep. And I was just going to say we've got to kind of look at things realistically too, because I mean, this is the first time we're truly going to have what I would consider crossplay with you guys, or should I say, the East Coast guys going to meet the guys in the Midwest and on a regular. So we get to see what those guys are made of. There's always been questions, right? I know Brent had always said that he felt his team was good enough to win. Well, now the proof's going to be in the pudding. I mean, you get to go play these guys. You get to show what you're worth. And the thing about it is that's the whole thing about playing these frigging games. Anybody could say they look good on paper. I seem to remember years ago, before Philadelphia even won a Super Bowl, we had Vince come out and say, "Man, we're a Super Bowl team."
we're a
Yeah,
dream team. Yeah.
Dream
on
team.
paper,
Didn't even
it
make
don't mean a damn thing.
didn't even make the playoffs that season.
Exactly. So you still got to play the games. And no, I'm not trying to cheapen or undercut anybody for what they have put together as a team. I'm just saying, in all the years that I've played, I only had one what I would consider super team, and we were good, but we weren't great. And I had a lot of other teams that we were not anywhere near a super team that I would have put on the great scale, not the good scale.
Well, I will say in looking at this list, there's a little bit of bias to the Northeast. The Northeast has the most teams in it, which means that it has the most votes for teams that those guys know.
Of
So you
course.
can see where the coaches kind of list is kind of skewed to the Northeast. But if anybody's being disrespected, it's not the Hunters. And listen, if Bino made the move that I suggested guys do to get more recognition in this league, where if you're, and of course, I think 3 or 4 plays is crazy, right? So my bad to Bino.
Sorry, I'm
But I
going to
want
dig
to,
this comment, but go ahead.
so what I want to be clear is that if Bino is going to the Hunters to make more of a name for himself, it's not going to show on the preseason poll, but games of the week. Hunters stick with it. Correct me if I'm wrong, guys, right? 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 o'clock Pacific.
Mm-hmm.
that's a game where guys that are on the Hunters, that are kind of in the mode where, similar to the way that kind of the Hawks are, right? Now, look, I'm on a Hawks. I have a roster that I'm confident in. I have a public voice that I could throw a temper tantrum. But I'll be honest, when I voted, I didn't even vote the Hawks in there. Hawks haven't proven shit yet. Now, my personal belief and then what a media guy says is proven, in a preseason poll, it's just bullshit. So if the Hunters are a legit top 7 team, by the end of the season, they will make this list, period. And the beginning of the season,
Thinks they're a top 17. By the end of this season, it'll come out because you will start to move up this list as the coaches see you play and see the wins that you're putting together. And you'll slowly move up this list, and you'll be, if you are a top 10 team, they'll still be biased. Let's be real. But if you are a top 10 team, you're gonna have more votes each and every week, and you'll probably wind up in that top 10. Let's say for shits and giggles, you're actually a 7 seed, but you're sitting at 10. You're in that top 10. That's what counts. That's what you're looking for. So that's where they're going with this. And it is a poll that is put out there. And so you have teams, or like Corey said, you have coaches where they know their teams because they've been playing these guys for years. And so you're going to have a little bit more bias. But what you didn't have bias on was everybody voted in. I'm sure that if Corey, and if you have the stats in front of you, let me know. But I'm sure that Insomniacs and BIC were 1 and 2 by far.
okay, so yeah, it was 33 total points in the vote, and I don't know how that's tallied, but
I don't either.
whatever, right? So it was Insomniacs at 33, BIC 28, you at 20, and the Watchmen were close behind. Listen, let's be clear to who actually did get disrespected, because correct me if I'm wrong, guys. Only one team that existed last year finished the season without actually losing a game. And I'll ask the chat, what team was that, gentlemen and ladies, whoever's listening?
Yeah,
Because it was not the Insomniacs, it was not BIC, it was the Sin City, the fake Sin City, of course. Right? Yep. They're fake as hell at this point, right? They're fugazi. But the Sin City Chaos did not lose a game.
Nope.
The bulk of the Sin City Chaos constitute the QC Crush, which added Amatress Hall from the Heist that are going to feature Seth Chambers, that have Aquino Thomas back, and we won't get into that, right? They have the offensive line guys. They have the defensive line guys. Oh, shit, I'm waking up the baby. I got to be quiet. But long story short, the Hunters don't have as big of a gripe, if there is a gripe, as the Crush would, which, let's be clear.
Hey, Daniel, who lost to the Insomniacs? Because it wasn't the Crush that lost, or excuse me, it wasn't the Chaos that lost to the Insomniacs last year. It was 2 years ago. Just so we're clear. So what he's talking about is last year. The Insomniacs lost 1 game. Chaos lost none. Well, but the argument can be made who Chaos play.
Well, and listen, the bulk of the Chaos makes up the Crush. They're not in the top 7. If they're not in the top 7 because there's uncertainty in like how that team's going to come together and what their overall record is going to look like competing against the Northeast, then I think it's fair to say that a Hunters team that we literally know nothing about, even as far as, questions about who's playing what position. Now, did they add some interesting pieces? For sure. And do they have an opportunity? Do they have an opportunity in week 1 to silence the doubters? Yes, they do. But for me, if I look at the list and I see the QC Crusher not on here, and the 0-7 Renegades and the haven't beat a winning team animals are on the list, that's kind of where I look at it and say, hold up.
Right.
And it's not it's and what I'm saying is I probably wouldn't add the hunters, but even if I were to get my wish, I don't even know if I would add if I took those teams off, because I would add the Crush up there. I don't know if I would add another Vegas team, because if the Force aren't that other team, there's really more questions than there are answers about the rest of the list.
But that's what we've been talking about, and that's the point that I'm trying to make, is the fact that if you don't know the teams, and these guys are talking about disrespect, you know what? If we don't know the teams, and a lot of these guys are trying to keep, and much respect for them for doing this, a lot of them are trying to keep their squads kind of quiet until that first game. I have no problem with that. But at the same time, don't then turn around on our show and say anybody's being disrespectful, because, again, the three of us had votes, but it wasn't just us. Like you said, there's 33 votes for the Insomniacs. Last time I checked, we count as 3. Trenton BIC, 28. Last time I checked, there's only 3. Patterson U, so on and so forth. We only have 3 votes. So it was the coaches, including some of you players, including your coach. So when you talk about these things, try to keep that in mind. And if you think your team is going to be solid, hey, you know what? I'm happy for you. Let's go out and see what happens on Sunday. With the exception right now of the Stealth, we're not going to be able to see that because they've got a bye. So we want to see what you guys are able to do. And it's all it is saying, okay, hey, man, go out and do your shit. Handle business. If the Hunters think they're being disrespectful, they have a chance to play. Who are they playing on Sunday?
Sick with it.
So you have a chance to handle business right there.
Yeah.
OTT is not playing this year.
Yeah, OTT is
no
not.
OTT, but OTT, there's guys that are mixing up. That's what you misheard. So let's just kind of wrap this subject up, because I think the individual matchups will be a little bit more interesting to talk about. I'll say this: anybody that is going to matter at the end of the season does not care about where they are on the preseason poll. Let me repeat that. Anybody, any team, or any player that's going to matter at the end of the season,
no pun,
does not care where they start out on the preseason poll. So the thing about football, not flag, but tackle, is you have to go out there and prove with your physicality and skill that you're worth talking about in that type of light, right? And so if the Insomniacs are 1, BIC is 2, both of those teams really don't care. Shout out to Jeremy Rivas. They really don't care that they're preseason number 1, because I think the polls later on in the season, based off of results, right? I think that those are going to matter a little bit more to teams that are going to actually, factor in towards the end. So I think that it's fun to talk about, but it is interesting that I think that the first question, first look at that, you're like, oh, what did Renegades do that they're in the top 7? Well, the Renegades, honestly, they may or may not even have Dondre Haynes, who is rumored to be playing arena football. Now, let's be honest, he plays. Like, if he's going to play, he's going to play. And when he does, he's a difference maker. But as a member of that Renegades team, if they can fix a lot of things, that's a team that last year was always.
We can see what's going to happen with them come
they're playing BIC. They're playing BIC week 1. So
and what I was going to say, we should get to the matchups and start talking about those. So
the last thing I'll say, the Renegades, 0-7 was their record. I was there, right? But this is the team that only lost, I think, 3 games by mercy rule. How many games did the Hunters lose by mercy rule last year? That'd be an interesting question to find out.
And bottom line is, that's what we're saying. That's why we're saying that until we can see the Hunters play, it's very hard to put them in the top 7. I mean, play is going to decide that. I don't know if we want to start East Coast or we want to start West Coast.
Let's save the games of the week. So let's start with the West Coast team games, because the only other West Coast game, which I think will be easy to talk about, and then the kind of the remainder games that aren't featured in the games of the week is East Coast, and then we can talk about the games of the week that will feature the Ohio division and the cross play, which I think is interesting. And then the nightcap, which is kind of already become a topic of the conversation, and then we can get into it a little bit more.
Okay. So we'll start with the Insomniacs and Gold.
Yeah, so Insomniacs Gold, I think, is a really easy conversation to have. I think the question for me in that game is how much have the Gold improved? Because I think one of the things with this contraction, as I'm in it looks like a Severance hallway. Shout out to the Apple Plus show, which if they want, they can advertise.
Yeah, like you're sitting in front of your stairs, going up the stairs.
Yes, exactly. Because I was waking up the baby in the back hallway, so my wife was like, "You're waking up the baby." But I think the Gold, with the contraction of the division, we're not going to have an OTT. We're not going to have pit bosses. We're not going to have what is going to be called the kryptonite. So with that contraction, we'll see what the Gold did to improve. Now, the crazy stat to understand is that the Gold scored 3.7 points per game last year. If they score a touchdown against the champs, that's an improvement, number one. Number two, if they got a couple of guys here and there that can kind of fill out the roster, I don't think that they're a team that is that far removed from being a little bit competitive. But if anybody thinks that the Gold are going to come in week 1 and shock the Insomniacs, listen, I don't know what strain, but just give me the stats on that, because I wouldn't mind trying that strain.
By the way, Cam, the games are going to be streamed, so it's not just going to be the games of the week.
Yeah, A7FL.TV. You can find other games. So if
we're not just streaming games of the week and that's it. We're streaming them all.
If you're itching to see some Insomniac Gold action, I'm sure we'll be able to get that to you. But guys, I mean, are you interested in the hypothetical of the Gold somehow shocking the world, or are you interested to know who thinks that they could beat the Insomniacs and what strain they are currently using rolled up in their specified delivery system? Because that would be my question about this game. I think I'd be an idiot to say that the Gold are a team that I think can pull this off. But I also think that with football, we do have to, give credence to the any given Sunday thing. I just don't think in this situation it's going to be this Sunday for this.
I would have to piggyback off that and say, I think that the Gold are going to be much improved, especially with their pure numbers. But when you're talking about going up against the number 1 seed and the defending champions, the only way I could see that truly happening without knowing the Gold is if they come out with a lot of really good players.
If the Las Vegas Raiders showed up, I think it would still be Insomniacs by 6. I'm just saying. I don't know.
Wow. So I'm just gonna say this and say I think it's going to be very difficult for especially with if the Gold has new players. Guys, Corey, this. Guys playing for the first time in the league, it takes a little bit of getting used to. Even if they're athletes, it takes a little bit of getting used to. So I know, talking to Jeremiah before, I know that he's got a full squad, which is great. I'm really happy to hear that. But I think that it's going to be an eye opener for them the first game of the season playing the champs. And
look, they could have their version of a David Tender. They could have their version of
even with their version of David Tender, and even with really good players, it's as well as I do, you can have the David Tenders and his wide receivers. Remind me, what was the final score against BIC?
It was 72-80, I believe.
Exactly.
82-68.
There you go.
Okay,
So
okay, yeah.
it's still one of those situations where even with them, they still lost the game. So
Yeah. Well, and then
you
by
got
the
a
way,
point.
David Tender's first pass in the league against the U, interception. So you gotta there's a line in a movie. I believe it's Ocean 11. You gotta walk before you can crawl. Reverse that.
Yeah.
So listen, Dub, you want to shock the world? You think there's going to be you want to piss some of your friends off?
I gotta hear this. Sorry, I pulled out my earpiece for a second. I gotta hear this.
No, the only thing I really want to see is if the Insomniacs, not the Insomniacs, if the Gold can score double digits on the Insomniacs. That should be one goal set for the Gold on this upcoming Senate. Again, I'm glad that they've added some depth. It's hard to see what kind of depth you have when your first game is against the defending champions. But I also want to see the depth that the champs have added to their core, as if they needed to, but they did. I mean, for example, last year, we were introduced to Jeremy Dark Kent Reeves. We were introduced to Richard Juice Washington. We were introduced to Chris Cunningham. So now I'm anxious to see who we're going to be introduced to this year with this version of the Wolfpack as they try to make history starting on March 16th.
And you got Jason Brown in the chat says Insomniacs are divas and riding the championship high. I got Gold putting up numbers on them. Still not willing to say that the Gold do anything other than put numbers. Say and of course there's a hater because I was positive. So yep. So I was positive, right? So I'll get the hater for being positive.
Is that one of those situations where somebody's calling out the Insomniacs a little bit to maybe wake them up? I think you got to be careful about
Jason Brown is entrenched in I think he's trolling his own team.
I was just gonna say the same thing. I think he's like, you know what, let me see if I can wake them up a little bit, make sure that they understand. So that's why I was kind of like, it might be interesting to see what happens from that comment.
Yeah, well, we love commenters, especially ones ones when I'm positive say that I'm a glazer, and when I'm negative that I'm a hater, because I mean I'm both equally and just as often. So what are some of the East Coast games that are not featured in Games of the Week that we can kind of get a quick perspective on?
Hold on, let me see if I could. Dub, do you have the schedule up by any chance?
I think I can start while you guys kind of so I know that it's BIC Renegades.
Correct.
Which is one of the other games, and that's an interesting game to talk about.
And you also have the U and the Buzz in Baltimore.
Yep.
Taking place at Reed Bird.
The U and the Buzz, or the U and the Heathens?
Well, on the website it says the U and the Buzz.
Okay, so
because it says because the Heathens are supposed to be scheduled to be playing against the Watchmen.
There you go. Yeah, so those are the three. Those are the rest of the three games, and then it's the Games of the Week. So if we start with BIC, and by the way, chat, guys, it was a joke. It was humorous to say that the Vegas Raiders would lose to the Insomniacs. I don't personally believe. Never mind. I'm not going to even explain to these people. And of course, clown emojis. But I think that's
explain a joke. It's not funny.
Yeah. No. Taking a joke as serious as now calling me a clown with emojis. I think that's telling on yourself. But anyway, shout out to Daniel Quinn as well, because he's also equally called me a hater. BIC, I think, is going to beat the Renegades. But I think the interesting thing to see is, because the Renegades are one of those teams that have traditionally given Derek Codrington a little bit of trouble. If the Renegades think that they're that team, which is what I hear from guys like Ron Clerk and guys that are close to the team, And they think that the flag chemistry thing, which has worked, let's be clear, that has worked consistently in this league, despite my hateration of it. No matter how much haterade I try to dump on the flag thing, let's be clear. Insomniacs, those guys are football players, but they have a flag background. Stick with it when they first showed up. Football players, but a flag kind of feel to it. What's up, Miz? And then Nightcrawlers, same thing. Play a lot of flag. So if the TMU core added to the Renegades becomes the team that is actually has the chemistry, functionally can put up points and move the ball, and they play that flag style, which against BIC might be pretty effective. I don't know, but what I've heard from the Renegades guys is as much as they've added to the skill position sets. My wife says go inside.
It's a little cold out there.
As much as they've added to the skill position sets, what I've heard is they're very light at offensive line. And ask Scooter if he pops back on here. Ask guys that have played for teams that have played against BIC like myself. I don't think the way that you go into a BIC game to try to beat them is by being thin, both literally and figuratively in the trenches, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Because one thing those flag guys are going to realize real quick playing A7 is when you play the BIC, you're going to get tackled if you don't block. You're not going to just have somebody lightly touch your hip as they pull a flag off of it. You're going to get obliterated. And are those guys going to be able to survive to week 2?
Let's be real. I don't know too many people that are going to look at some of the guys that are playing, and especially from BIC, especially in the trenches. If you're light in the backside in the trenches with those guys, oh boy, you better eat your Wheaties because it's going to be a long ass day.
So my thing is that based on what I've heard, I have zero confidence that the Renegades will win this game. But I'll proposition the hypothetical. One of the best games that wasn't the championship game that BIC played, they played a team that had some flag guys that didn't have a really dominant offensive line, and that was the Animals, and they put up some fireworks. So I don't think that Renegades win this game, especially because guys that are new to the league kind of adjusting to it. I think there is going to be, even if they are great, there's going to be an adjustment period, especially against a team that's physical like BIC. But
Corey, so you're telling me you're taking BIC over the Renegades?
I think that's fair to say.
Okay.
But I say this: we could come in a week from now and talk about the Renegades as a potential top team if they can put up points and kind of translate that flag style into success, as we've seen other teams do.
Yep.
But that's not always the case,
and
I don't think it's going to be this weekend.
We know what's going to happen with BIC because they're gonna if they know that they could overpower you on the offensive line versus their defensive line, it's going to be a damn big dose of running the ball. So good luck.
Dave Valley.
Yeah. Oh man, and just running behind Big Dave. That's it. Let's just say it's over with. Patterson U versus DC Buzz. Who did the Patterson U combine with, Corey?
The Snow Tribe.
Snow Tribe. That's it. I couldn't remember.
Yeah, that guy's just a breaking news.
Is that now Snow U?
Oh,
no,
breaking news.
Breaking news: the Snow Tribe don't exist. I mean, let's be clear, and this isn't hateration, because even though I am a hater, this is just facts. I don't know. Tell me 4 guys that you think from Snow Tribe could start for the U, because I don't see them existing.
Is that us? Music in the background, Corey? Is that you?
Yes, no, that's me.
Oh, that's you, Dub?
He's cutting a promo because I'm talking shit. Tell me 4 guys from Snow Tribe that start for the U. I'll wait. So the U is the U, and I think they just got some of the best guys from Snow Tribe to rotate in and add a little depth. Because I do think that one of the things that we watch with the U is how they're going to be able to keep up the pace when a lot of their guys have been playing in this league for approximately, like if you round up for some of them, you might be able to say rounding up 2 decades.
Gotcha.
We got guys in Vegas that have retired after 2 seasons. so look, I don't think that the Snow Tribe conversation is a conversation. But the U is always going to be the U until proven otherwise. And I think they're playing the Buzz.
Yeah, I like the U over the Buzz anyway. I think the U is an overall better team than the Buzz. So I would have picked the U versus the Buzz anyway. Even without knowing that there are some guys from Snow Tribe that went over, like you said, as backups.
And then the Buzz kind of factor in as one of those teams that, they're traditionally like at least recently, they're traditionally kind of like the B team in the Maryland division, the Baltimore, the DMV. Yeah. But talking to Keith Salmons from RTU, shout outs to Real Talk U. I think today he was saying
too.
Yeah, it was his birthday or whatever. Yeah, the 2 DPOYs that were on Snow Tribe, one is on BIC, Trey Baskerville. That's not confirmed, but that is a 99% sure. And then Isaac Negron, who was last year's Defensive Player of the Year, that got signed to Snow Tribe and then didn't produce like he did this past year with you. I'm pretty sure he is also added to BIC. So no help there. No help there. But talking about the Buzz again, the Buzz are kind of like that usually that alternate team, that second team. From what I heard from Keith Salmons, they may be the 3rd best team in the division because of what the Heathens were able to kind of scrounge up with the guys that are not suiting up for the Watchmen, at least on paper, and we'll see. The Buzz are falling behind the expansion Heathens just on names on a piece of paper. And in my opinion, guys, it's easy for me to kind of show confidence in what the U is capable of doing year in, year out, week in, week out. And I think they come out of week 1 with a comfortable victory over the Buzz.
Well, so basically, yeah, so we're basically right back where we're talking about, which is Patterson U over DC Buzz. And if you're saying that people are saying that Buzz is going to be the 3rd best team in this division,
listen, I again, kind of the common theme of this show, based on what we were talking about earlier. I don't think that I feel comfortable making that proclamation with my full chest. But I do trust Keith because he knows the moves that are happening a little bit better than I do. And look, you gotta put a team together, right? It's not just a list of names. If you put the team together,
you can't put teams on paper and compare paper and say,
and based on paper, that's the consensus from guys that know a little bit more about the specifics than I do. And one of the things that'll be interesting, and maybe it's a little bit biased of me to say, but I always will come back to quarterback talk. A guy who popped for the Buzz last year at quarterback, and unfortunately we weren't able to see him on Games of the Week, is a former rugby player, a professional rugby player, and his name is Ryan Burrows. He was on the Buzz last year. He apparently is the starting quarterback for the Heathens, which is one of the reasons why.
Hot take, but okay.
Hot take: the Stell won't lose this week. Listen, Jordan Davidson has a lot of great content that he adds. That was worthless, so I appreciate the joke. But that is for sure. I mean, he's not going to be wrong there. So I mean,
the next game that we're going to talk about you got to abstain from.
Well, first let's talk. No,
care.
first let's talk. Let's talk Watchmen. Let's talk Watchmen.
Well, hold on.
Games,
If we're gonna
right?
go this, we're gonna do this in the next game. If we skip your game, the next game is a Hunters versus. Oh yeah, we can't do that because it's game of the week.
Yeah. So I
So
think the
Heathens and
only
the
other
Watchmen.
games is
Animals
Watchmen
and
Heathens and the
Heathens. Yeah.
Watchmen.
Juicy Crush.
Oh yeah, no, that's the game of the week too.
Oh,
That's the
okay. So
4 o'clock
it is.
game of the week. Yeah.
Okay, damn it. Not
The
bad.
Watchmen, the Watchmen and the
Don't yell at
Heathens. We're not
So you're
yelling.
right. Watchmen and the Heathens.
Yeah.
My
Watchmen.
bad. I
Yeah.
apologize.
No. So yeah. No. That I mean, listen. It is annoying when I'm right. So I apologize. But just this once, I guess.
You'll get used to it.
Yeah. I usually don't. It's I work
But he
better from a
tries.
place of I
Yeah,
work better from a place of having a little bit of incorrectness. Um,
But he
ask
tries.
Daniel Quinn. I'm apparently always wrong according to him.
But he
Um,
tries.
I'll try. So Watchmen to me are the better team, right? Um, I think that there's something that has been kind of like festering in the Watchmen for a couple of years, and my this is a general take that I have, so it's not specific to just the Watchmen. But I feel when teams do the combined thing, when they go Super Saiyan 3 and try to go like and make a Go Tanks or I was going to try to see what Cell and Boo would be if you mix those, but that sounds ridiculous. But if you're going to combine teams like the Watchmen did with the Gators and the Rare Breed, you're in a dangerous position, right? So I feel like the Insomniacs did that with their two. And now it's a crude way to kind of streamline the conversation, but I feel like what the Insomniacs did, where they took basically, most of the pit bosses, most of the kryptonite from that fall, combined the teams, Voltroned it up to the Insomniacs, whether it's a super team or not. They won the championship doing that. So there was an immediate return on the investment there. When teams do the combined thing, if they don't win immediately, then what starts to happen is the two factions start to eat at each other and blame the other faction, right? So the Gators are blaming the Rare Breed are blaming the Gators in why they're not being successful. So the first year the Watchmen existed was great because they were really firing on all cylinders, won the Northeast, and if it wasn't for one of the greatest performances I've ever seen from the Nightcrawlers that one week in the semifinal, maybe the Watchmen were the team that played the Insomniacs in Arizona. But then last year, you kind of saw it bubble up in a situation that suspended their season, not because they weren't good enough to beat a team, but they weren't smart enough to not beat themselves. And we don't have to relitigate all of that. But the fact is that they're in a dangerous position, in my opinion. Now, I think they get the week 1 win against the Heathens because as good as the Heathens could be on paper, they've never played a full A7FL game, and their first game being a Baltimore super team is a tough draw. But the
Well,
Watchmen are in a dangerous position this year because if they can't figure out how to win and win big enough that they feel vindicated for doing so, this is that dangerous year where if things start to go wrong, especially early on in the season, they might start to do the blame game and break apart as opposed to come together because they're also still doing a thing that I think is insane, and they've been making it work. But we talked about it like a couple weeks ago. I think it was last week when we were talking about Sick with It. If you have more than one quarterback, do you even have a quarterback? I don't
No.
know. Now
I don't think so.
The Watchmen do have two quarterbacks, and those guys play very well off of each other. But that style eventually is going to lead to when one guy is having a good day, whether it's Buck or Boogie, and the other guy is having a bad day, whether it's Buck or Boogie. If it's a close game, you're going to then say, no, you don't get your reps this drive because this guy's playing better. And then what happens when a guy that is the heart and soul of the Gators or the heart and soul of the Rare Breed is told that, well, you're not playing well enough to help us win today. That's when stuff starts to hit the fan, and that's going to be something that I'm watching with the Watchmen. Watch this. That's what I'll be watching. Hashtag watch that.
No pun
This
intended.
season, because that's going to be a key factor in their overall success. But as it comes to week one, as cute
I
as the
don't
Heathens seem, I don't know if it's going to be enough against the Watchmen.
I don't want to beat a dead horse on this subject because, and man, maybe beat a dead horse was a bad way to put it after what happened last year between the Watchmen and the Chaos. My curiosity is there uh, is there any fallout from that? Are the Watchmen going to be missing any players? That's my kind of curiosity because, with that situation, I don't know. I'm literally asking if
Yeah,
any of us know if there's
and
going to be any fallout.
listen. First of all, that's a great question, and that's a question for maybe Will Franklin, because if we go into the specifics of that conversation, I'm sure there's a plenty of people from the Vegas division that are going to start to do the, well, what about, and then we get into a full
And I
nother
probably
conversation.
shouldn't have brought it up. I was thinking about it, and I'm like, I remember how the season ended, and I didn't hear anything about it or see anything about it. So I was just kind of asking. So I honestly I don't know.
There's going to be some people that aren't really super happy about the answer to that, but I don't want to listen. I don't necessarily want to get into that. But what I will say is that based on the fact that some people that listen to this show are going to be really upset about the way that turned out, you know, maybe that's the answer that you're kind of looking for. But what I will say is this: from what I know about the Watchmen, there are guys that are not eligible, but there are enough guys that are eligible that the team's going to look a lot like we've come to know them as in the itineration that they've been in the past couple seasons. And they also added a couple of guys that, let's say defected from the Baltimore division to join a team like the U. So Keith Salmons himself, even though he's a better broadcaster than Corner, in my opinion, but he's going to be on the Watchmen. And I believe Snags Sosa is also making his way back over there, as well as the center Mo, not Big Mo Ramadan, but I think his name is Maurice Williams. I'm probably messing up his last name, but he's a big time performer for them, and if they can add depth back to their offensive line, it'll be interesting. But they do lose Amari Thomas, which is interesting as well. Amari Thomas is going to be playing for the Animals, and I think although the Watchmen do have running backs, losing Amari Thomas, I think, is going to hurt more than they realize.
Well, and I was just throwing it out there, but because I didn't know, I was thinking, okay, if they're going to be missing players, maybe we go the other way on this as far as this game goes, because I think not knowing the Heathens and knowing the Watchmen, not real well, but knowing them decently, I just wanted to kind of get your take on that because I didn't know if they're going to be missing any key players that would have could have possibly hurt this squad in week one.
I don't know. Maybe
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know either. It's
no,
it's
I
weird.
do know. I do know certain things, but I don't want to. I don't want the show to devolve into that.
No,
I just think the main focus here is, can the Watchmen put what happened in the playoffs behind them and focus on 2025? Because again, 2 seasons ago, they were in the Final Four. Can they reshape, refocus, and get back to that level of a Watchmen football team? That remains to be seen. It'll be interesting to see coming up on Sunday.
Where did they have them in the top? They had them at number 4, right?
Number
They're
4,
four.
yes.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
4. So listen,
My curiosity question with that is, are they truly? And obviously, we'll find out during the season. But the curiosity question is exactly that, Dub. Can they make themselves or put themselves back in the top 4? Now, the curiosity with that is, how early do they play the U or BIC? Because that'll be the litmus test, right? When they play those two teams, we'll see what they truly are made out of. It's kind of like when we talked about it. We want to see obviously sick play the Insomniacs for that test, but we'll see what that test first looks like going against the Hunters on Sunday. So it's all this putting all of this together is why I'm saying I'm very interested for this season, because I think that the Vegas division got a lot more competitive because you were able to organically grow these teams.
Yeah, there's a lot of depth.
Yeah, in my
the
eyes,
depth
it was
spread it
actually,
around.
yes, it was addition by subtraction for this. And when I think about what's going on the East Coast, it's going to be interesting as well, because we're seeing the East Coast guys play the Midwest guys. The Midwest guys are now going to see their litmus test and see where they truly are, because the argument was always there. Well, Chaos went undefeated. Okay, but outside of the teams they played in the Midwest, who else did they play for us to really see how good they were? Now we know most of them are on Octane. I'm always going
The
to screw that.
Crush. The Crush.
Crush. Thank you.
Crush.
They're all on the Crush. So now we get to see, okay, when the Crush plays some of the teams from the East Coast, how do they look? Right? It will
Which
get
kind
our
of segues us nicely into the games of the week, gentlemen.
yes.
So the 1:00 game, I'll be there.
Live and in
So-
person.
Is it your game?
It
Yeah,
is.
the 1:00 game is Old Bridge Hawks versus the Indianapolis Octane.
Ooh, this is gonna be interesting then.
So I don't really have a take other than to say that I think I am ready. We are ready, and it'll be an interesting first test for a team that is. If you go to A7, you can find rosters if you need. I don't know how accurate they are in full.
They're not. They're
But
not. I
you're
went on
not.
it
You're not
earlier.
gonna. I mean, I don't know who this person is, but listen. Maybe show up to your game prepared to play, and whoever shows up on the field,
I
you
will.
adjust.
Well,
You
here,
adjust
let
accordingly.
me put it. Let me just answer the question really quick, because I know the answer to this, and I'll just say it. And Corey, you could jump back in. Rosters are not final until 12 a.m. midnight, or if you want to say 12 a.m. on Friday night, Saturday morning. They're not final. So you can't really see a roster until that point in time. And realistically, we're not sending out everybody's rosters to everybody else. So you can go on and take a look at some of the guys that have registered on the A7FL.com website, not ours, but the national website. But it will show you players that have registered this year combined with players that played last year. So it's not going to be a true roster as to what you're looking for. Sorry, go ahead, Corey.
No, I think that's. Listen, people are worried about rosters. They're worried about jerseys. Listen, it'll all work itself out. Just if everybody focuses on trying to play the best football that they can, then it'll be a good situation for them. But yeah, I'll let you guys talk about Hawks Octane. I mean, yeah, Hawks Octane. Our 1:00 game of the week.
I will say this because I know, or should I say, I watched the Octane from last year. I don't know how they improved. Corey, I know you're on the Hawks. That's why you're kind of abstaining from this one. But my curiosity question is, you guys have a bunch of guys that have played before. So there's not going to be that learning curve. I don't know from the Octane side, everybody that's going to be there that was there last year compared to who they picked up, and how many first-year players do we have?
Well, my question is, how and who do you replace James Butler with now that James Butler is no longer on the team, who was one of the
James
key
Mitchell,
cogs?
right?
Yeah, James Mitchell. I'm sorry.
Is
not
it Butler or Mitchell? I don't know. He's on the Heathens, by the way.
Mitchell. That was Mitchell.
I want to say it's Mitchell.
Yeah, I want to say it's Mitchell, not Butler.
I think Butler is still on the Octane, if I'm not mistaken. But I mean, how do you replace his talent, and who do you replace him with? Is one, and plus, I mean, it's a cross division game. It's a cross region game that we've been wanting to see for the last 2.5 years, and we finally get to see that. So, again, will the lag from the Hawks coming from the Eastern time zone to the Central time zone, will that play a factor? We don't know. How will their time clocks adapt as they're coming into a different time zone? I mean, that's always something to pay attention to. But I mean, it's something that it's a game I definitely will be watching and seeing how it comes down, and finally get to see Corey Hammond playing a full game to where I'm not being occupied by our job duties of doing our games. So we get to see Corey Hammond sling the rock around, if you will, for lack of a better term.
I got to bring my iPad out again, don't I?
You might have to.
So that way we could watch it. So, Dub, just so you know, there's a Chris Butler on the Octane. Maybe that's who you were thinking of.
Yes.
And Danya Mitchell is on the Virginia Heathens. So I heard the Heathens, they traded a couple crab cakes.
Just
a couple crab cakes, some crab fries, and 2 cans of Old Bay seasoning.
For a minute there, I thought you were going to say a Krabby Patty.
Thank you, Mr. Davidson, for the correct geography lesson. Thank you. So they are in the Eastern.
Yeah, they're on there.
Zone.
They're
Okay.
3 hours ahead of us.
Okay, all right.
Sorry, I was looking up. Otherwise, I would have told you. But so right now, I'm leaning towards the Hawks. Just so you know, because not just because one of our hosts is the quarterback, but also I always lean towards teams that have players that have played in the league before and understand their jobs. So I don't know enough about the Octane as far as their players are concerned to really say anything else about them. Just looking at their squad, don't know enough about them. Looking at it online, and who knows how many of those players are from last year. Have no idea. So,
but they get their opportunity to introduce themselves as a game of the week, national game of the week, their first time ever, and I'll just say I'm excited.
We should be.
Appreciate the support from Jason Brown. I think we're going to have fun out there. I think it's going to be a nice trip.
Yeah, as long as the weather holds up, like you were saying. You don't know if it's going to rain or not.
It said it was going to earlier in the week, but it has since cleared up.
Are you guys not playing? Are you guys not playing indoors? You're playing outdoors?
No. So week 2 in Indy is going to be in the Lucas Oil practice facility.
Okay.
Week 1 is going to be a similar situation like Vegas. It's going to be like a high school stadium. It's actually a nice stadium though. So I'm they didn't go for the old glass and grass, as Rob would say. Shout outs to Big Rob.
Man, that's always a big fun, man. When you're playing with glass in the grass, that's always fun.
Yeah.
I got scars to prove it.
Yeah, well,
manly scars at that.
If we're driving almost 11 hours, I think I would prefer no glass in grass. We could have just met up in the middle and just said, "Hey, wherever our cars crash into each other, we just play here." But that'll bring us to the 4:00 Eastern time, 1:00 Vegas. We'll call that showtime, right? Your guys' time zone in Vegas is showtime.
Pacific Daylight Time.
Yes, exactly.
Showtime will work for me.
So 4:00 is an interesting one in my opinion, and then maybe the spiciest takes we'll get potentially. It is the QC Crush new look and real QC for sure. No one's arguing if they're the real Queen City. But they are taking on the Silk City, also real, even though that's not a real thing that I know of. There's no silk manufactured in Patterson. But the Silk City Animals, led by David Tender.
Indiana. That's what they're playing.
They're playing in Beech Grove, Indiana.
Yeah, Beech Grove, Indiana.
Yeah.
Near a El Mariachi Mexican restaurant.
Indiana known for their beachfront property, so that's interesting. So listen, that's sarcasm.
I was gonna say.
So QC Crush, animals, thoughts, go.
Well, okay. So we know Crush is going to be should be a decent team. I mean, they're basically the Chaos. So I get that. My question mark is, do they have the defensive ends to go after Tender? That's the biggest question that I have. You know what? I am going to lean. Well, I can't say that because I don't know what the Crush is going to have offensively. I know kind of what they had defensively from last year, if that's going to hold up for this year. But again, I'm not. I've got to kind of play it half and half, and I'm going to lean towards the better, who I think is a better quarterback between the two teams, which is Tender. I'm going to lean towards the Animals on this one.
I'll say this: I think there might be a lot of scoring in this game.
That's my point. Because let's face it, the one thing about it, that if the Animals actually had a decent defense, they would be dangerous.
And I'm
that's
anxious. And I'm anxious to see what kind of defense they brought up because if you watch David Tender's interview on the All Pro Jaffos, which is of course on Jaffos TV with our good buddies DJ Matchsticks, JP, and EJ Whistle. I mean they say they're coming. I mean Tender, basically Tender is ready to prove himself and is ready to show that last season was not a fluke, and that you have not seen the best of the Silk City Animals according to him. So I'm anxious to see.
But we never truly question their offense.
True.
It's the capability of stopping somebody.
Correct.
Is what we questioned.
Correct.
So my curiosity is just right there. So we know they could put up points. Can they stop somebody from scoring? And if they can, then I'm leaning towards the Animals even more because I think they're good. Out of the two teams, I think they're the better offense.
I don't disagree with that, which is why I said I think there might be a lot of scoring in this game. But I'm also like you. I'm leaning towards everybody's darlings coming into this off season. I'm leaning towards the Animals of Silk City. But
look, Mac Jones signed with the 49ers. Sorry.
Well, that's why I have that look on my face.
I was curious. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
What do you mean? Weren't they super high on Mac Jones in the draft leading up?
Sometimes I really want to slap my head coach.
No,
Rabbit,
why? Because he wins at an outrageous clip in the NFL as an offensive genius.
No, because he does not know how to go with what works when it's up when his team is up by 10 when it really counts.
Okay, well maybe, but how about this? You are whining about not winning Super Bowls, okay? And there's people in your guys' town that are excited about Geno Smith getting signed and traded to the Raiders, okay? So it could be worse, Dub. It could be worse. A. B, tell me a quarterback that hasn't been coached by Shanahan. That has been coached by Shanahan that he didn't get the most out of.
Well,
Trey Lance.
Trey Lance
never
had his
got
best
a chance.
Days. Trey Lance had his best days when he was on the Niners.
He's 2-2. He's 2-3 as a starter. 5 games does not make you a bust.
No, I'm not saying he's a bust, but I'm just saying he said who didn't succeed. So I threw out a name. He said, "Tell me a quarterback."
No, what I said was,
it was a dumbass.
Who did he not get the best out of? And
Brian
I
Hoyer.
would say based on Trey Lance's current.
Brian Hoyer, CJ Beathard, Josh Johnson, Brandon Allen.
So he didn't get the most out of those guys?
Correct.
Do we have another game to go? We better stick on script because it's
all right. Fair.
Yes, Sick and the Hunters.
So
our game
no. Let's finish Crush Octane because I didn't say it. So I did. Now I was scouting for a game that I'm a little bit more interested in personally, and call me biased, but I'm interested in a little bit more than the game we're talking about now. But when I talked to Brent Smothers, I was kind of getting a look at. Sorry, somebody's walking by me on the stairs. I was getting a look at like what the two teams look like, right? Because based on what the Crush look like is probably going to be somewhat of what the Octane looks like. And according to
Yes,
Brent Smothers, nice. According to Brent Smothers, the Crush are kind of the A team in Ohio. So they got the pick of the litter. They got most of the guys that we are familiar with. If you know a name that's out there that isn't Tyler Pennington, the quarterback of the Octane, who used to be the quarterback of the Crush, they are a member of the Crush this year. So Amatrus Hall, big time playmaker, Crush. Um, they got an Aldi's version of Dondre Haynes in Megatron. They have this big guy. He's like 6'6", 270. Crush. I always forget his name. He'll prove himself worthy if he is. And then they have Keno Thomas, and he is playing wide receiver. And that's his position this year because they feel really confident in second-year player Seth Kozak at quarterback. And if you watch the Chaos film, they would put in Kozak when they were, when they had already kind of handled things. And he actually added a dynamic to their offense that we haven't seen from Ohio teams, which is pure passer. He does have a cannon. And what he showcased his arm strength on are the 3-on-1 throw-offs in which he consistently would get it into or out of the end zone.
Hold on.
He's got the range.
I'm showing something for you guys because Daniel says that he thinks, let's see, doesn't matter, or wait a minute, Crush the new Chaos. I'm calling the Crush going to be the top team. I want you to take a look at where the Crush are right now.
They're not just in Ohio.
They're
So
not
that's
in Ohio anymore, Bubba. This is now going a lot deeper. So they are in
They now have
the
a chance
Northeast.
They now have a chance to prove themselves, though. They have a
Exactly,
chance to
because
prove
they're going to have
themselves.
to play. They're going to have to play BIC, the Animals, the Heathens, the Watchmen, the Buzz. They're going to have to play all these guys. It is no more that they are just going to be that top team.
Well, I talked to Keno, and he said he thinks his team can go 4-2 or 5-1, which is interesting that he's given himself a loss, but I think that's realistic because they play the U and BIC. But I will say this about their team.
Ow.
What?
I said, ow.
Well, I mean, being realistic is being real. I'm fair with that. They got to travel too. But here's the thing. The Animals, as much as we love them, and let's be clear, we love watching the Animals. I think they're one of the most fun teams to watch. I think they give us football the way that we want to watch it, right? It's not, it's not some brand where it's boring or it's guys that, aren't interesting to watch. But the Animals wins last year are against the 0-7 Renegades, the 0-6 Buzz, and the 1-5 Snow Trap. Now, did they put up points against the other teams that they played that were competitive? Yes, they did. But they did not, in my opinion, prove that they're in the upper echelon of the A7. But what I think makes this game really interesting is this is really going to be the first opportunity that, in my opinion, the Ohio guys, the class of the Ohio division, which I'm being told by Brent Smothers the Crush are, this is their opportunity to be favored in the game. Because when the Heist came over last year and they played the U, they're not the favorites. Now they proved themselves to be a tough opponent against the U. They made that game a lot closer than a lot of us thought it was going to be. But the Heist lost. When the Heist came over and they played the Snow Tribe the first time, they weren't even favored in that game. They lost. The Crush got an opportunity against the Insomniacs. I mean, excuse me, the Chaos got an opportunity against the Insomniacs in the Final Four, a home game, lost. They were not favored. And last year, we didn't get to see how the game would end against the Watchmen Chaos.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the Crush's and the Ohio Division's first opportunity to really prove that they can be a top echelon team. And both of these teams, although they have a lot of wins in the core being up from the Chaos, right? If we're taking that on face value,
That's all we can take it on.
and the Animals, these teams have shown that against inferior competition that they can win.
Well,
let's see what these teams can do against teams that are considered maybe in the upper echelon. And if you go by the tops, go ahead.
All I'm saying is that, because we got to get to the last game before it gets to 7:30 here. But all I'm saying is that
6 minutes over.
all I'm saying is that when we are looking, and I think sometimes we do a little bit more of a deep dive with some of these teams, and it's not wrong. But I think that when I'm looking at these teams, and I've already said it when Daniel said that they're the class of their division. Well, not so many words, but it's not their division anymore. It is now the Northeast Division, and you've got to prove yourself in that division regularly. Every friggin' Sunday, you better bring it. There's no team in that Northeast Division that is going to lay down for you.
Oh,
So you better be ready to bring it every single Sunday. And I can tell you right now, with the disrespect that some of these teams in the Northeast Division had for the guys out west, if you think that isn't going to be for you too in the Midwest, shit, you are not ready. You better just stay home. That's all I'm going to say. So, you better pack a lunch and be ready to play, because if you don't, you are going to get blown out. And I can tell you right now, BIC, they're not going to give a crap if you got 10 players, you got 20 players, or you got 30 players. They are going to take it to you each and every down. So you better be ready. So
that's week 2. That's the Crush week 2.
I'm not knocking Brent. I'm not knocking anybody. All I'm saying is they wanted to know what they were made of. They felt that they were good enough, and I'm talking about the Chaos. They went undefeated. They felt that they were good enough to play and beat us or anybody in our division or anybody in the Northeast Division. So now's the time you'll be able to do exactly that, show what you're made of, and show what kind of team you are. And again, no knock. The respect is there. Go out and show it. Go out and make it happen. I'm just saying, these guys are going to disrespect you, and just be ready for it. That's all I'm saying. Corey, tell me I'm wrong.
You're not. But I'll say this. I think that the favorite team in that game should be the Crush. But
Against the Animals?
Against the Animals, yeah. But listen, the Animals could have shored up the defense.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I'm saying. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
But if you go by the top 7, if that has any credence to anybody, which it shouldn't, but if it does, the Animals are favored then. So we'll see.
Yeah, I don't have any credence in any of it until you're actually playing the games. And no knock against anybody, but if you are part of the Crush, go out and prove yourselves. If you're part of the Animals, go out and do the same damn thing. That's what this game is all about. You can talk about all your team on any given Sunday on any shit that you want to, but until you get smacked in the mouth with that first down and that first play, you don't know.
I'll say this: if you're a fan of the A7 and offense, and you're not at the time of the game playing, I would tune in to A7FL.TV
right now. That is one game I will be watching.
Yes, I suggest that everybody does.
Yep. So, Dub, I'll definitely be bringing my iPad or my laptop, so we'll be watching that game.
Oh, yes. Yes, indeed.
Which leads into our final game that we're going to talk about in week 1. Gentlemen, it is out in your Showtime area code. Time zone, excuse me. The 7 o'clock Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. That team that wanted to be in the top 7, well, they get a chance to play sick with it. As the Hunters,
team that is in the top 7.
as the Hunters take on Mark Gray and whoever he has at quarterback. What do you guys think about this game?
Interesting to see the depth.
William
Okay,
Carswell.
but you made the
William
list.
Carswell. Your
You
stats,
made the list.
Your stats were 2 returns for 2 touchdowns, and you were given credit for that. But then where were you anyway?
You made the list.
Game 7.
Be happy you made the list.
Don't be happy.
We can name more players not on the list than we could on the list.
By the way, is William Carswell playing for the Insomniacs?
Yes, he is.
So you'll definitely get burned then, right? Nope. You could have got more burned if you only got 2 plays with 2 returns with the gold. Anyway, he's probably a baller, and I'm just talking shit. But anyway, prove yourself, and then we'll put you up higher. And we don't got to talk about it, but we did for you. Anyway, 7 o'clock. Hunter's sick. Gents.
Well, again, here we go with another 2 teams. We don't know exactly what the Hunters have. We like them, and I like both teams, but I have no idea right now how they're going to come together. I don't know who's playing quarterback for Sick With It. We can only guess at best. So I have no idea. So this game to me is one of those where I could literally pick up a coin and toss it and say, okay, heads, Hunters, tails, Sick With It, because we don't know what they have. Everybody's, oh, well, we're disrespecting this team or that team. Whatever. We'll see what happens on Sunday. Now, if I got to go by what happened last year, I'm going to have to lean towards Sick. And I also cannot sleep on Mark Gray because I don't think that anybody who he's lost, I think he's replaced. Do we know if it's a better player? I have no idea. I have no clue. And that's what's bothering me the most. If there's a team that made the playoffs last season that I just don't know enough about right now, it would be Sick. And it kind of makes me sick to say it because I don't know what they got. I know that they have a lot of really good players coming back. You can't sleep on DP. You can't sleep on Lavish. You can't sleep on a lot of their players.
Lavish is not playing for Sick this year.
Well, that's what he's saying. He says without Lavish T, who does the returns.
Shout out to Jordan I wasn't paying attention to when I'm talking. I'm not paying attention to what they're writing.
I love how Daniel Quinn is in the chat.
The mighty Quinn will say, "You will see."
Yeah, right.
Well, and that's the thing. So Daniel knows, but we don't. So what I'm sitting here looking at this, I've got to lean towards what I know in my heart, which is Sick is going to be a good team, and it's no knock against the Hunters. I don't know all the players on the Hunters. All I can do is look at last year and say, okay, if I know that it's going to be a lot closer. I know it is, but at the same time, I don't know what they got. So I'm leaning towards Sick With It. If the Hunters can show themselves and be the better team, hey, more power to you, and I'll give you your just due. But right now, I got to lean towards Sick.
I'm not going to argue that. Like I said, for people to think that Mark Gray was not going to reload and add to this already very good roster, which again, by the way, in the 2 seasons they have been in this league, they have only lost 3 games to 1 team. So if you don't think that they're still not going to be good, you have not watched them play these last 2 years coming into this league. With that said, I am glad the Hunters have added some pieces. It's going to be weird to see Savion wearing Hunter's red as opposed to OTT purple and gold per se. But I want to see how this depth could come together in the first game. Although, unfortunately, it's coming against a very good Sick With It team. So we shall see. Anxious to see who is going to be the quarterback, and if it is who Chris mentioned earlier in this podcast, if it ends up being him being the quarterback for Sick, that the playbook really could be open, if you will, if that person is the case. But again, as the mighty Quinn has said, we will see and find out.
Yep. I mean, that's all we can do. Wait and see. Or
So listen, let me speak directly to my Hunters friends. The fact that you guys are worried about the ranking week 1 or preseason, excuse me, and that you want the respect before anything is proven based on, like if everybody remembers the late 90s and early 2000s when the Redskins signed all the 40-year-olds that were future Hall of Famers and they won the offseason every year and then didn't make the playoffs. If you want that preseason accolade so badly that you're upset about a meaningless poll, that to me smells like that facing Sickwit at week 1 is going to set you guys back. That your best chance to be ranked in the top 7 would be before you play a game. And I look at what you guys added as a Hunters roster, and it is definitely better than the spring Hunters last season. But tell me who you have on your roster that's going to cover Darren Palmer. I don't think you have a guy. And even if we take off the top, what? We take off Lugo. I mean, not Lugo. We take off Josiah Sow, Jeremy Geary, Lavish T. I'd still say the top 7 players in this team. In this game, of the top 7 guys that are actually, if you did like a Madden overall, 5 of the 7 guys are probably still on Sickwit's roster. So I don't think that the Hunters come into this game favored. I think they have a chance because I think even, a question earlier from Daniel Quinn, who knows who the quarterback is, he said, why does it matter who the quarterback is for Sick? Well, we all know why that matters when you are taking away 2,500 yards of passing production, almost 30 touchdowns of passing production. You might have a question on who's going to replace that production. But I think it would be asinine for us, knowing the information we know now, to say anything other than Sickwit is probably going to win this game by at least 2 touchdowns. And the Hunters, although improved, their first test being a team that is clearly been the second best team in the division and won the division last year in the regular season. And they're going to somehow come into this game as the inferior opponent to a team that's picking up guys that are leftovers. No disrespect. But other than Savion Cunningham, Tone Smith, and I think is rumored that Justin Shepard is going to be on the Hunters, which may be the guy that
Shepard's on the Hunters.
yeah, so that may be the guy that they try to line up against Darren Palmer. There's got to be more than just a couple of guys on your roster if you're going to go against a team that has proven that the core of their team has been successful in this league. And the Hunters would have to, before they start winning games, I think it'd be safe to say they have to learn how to win. And if they can do that on the fly and real quick, all the power to them. But if we're asking quarterbacks, if the hypothetical is Iquan Corsi or Yodi Mack, gun to your head, gentlemen, who is the better player in that matchup, knowing what we know now?
Well, I will say that if this is true, and I'm sitting here going through the roster right now for Sick, and I just went through the roster for the Hunters. It looks like they've been updated. And an interesting piece is Jeremy Geary is actually on there.
There you go.
So I'm just saying.
What I heard is that he may show up eventually, but if he's there week 1, Scott Hamilton's sitting pretty with that bet.
Right. Well, and it goes deeper because the other side of that is, and down me for this because it's public knowledge. I mean, you guys could go on here and see for yourself. If this is true, which I don't know, I'm just kind of posturing and putting it out there. But from this, the other one that's still on here too is Josiah Sal. So just saying.
They'll do the old BIC. They're on the roster and they don't play the playoffs thing. Yeah, us
Or
in the
they're on
North.
the roster and only playing the playoffs.
That's what don't play until. Yeah, exactly. They don't play until the playoffs, which is a thing that the Northeast loves about BIC. Which is how do
So
they have
anybody
space on the roster for Hirsch?
Anybody on Sick with It can yell at me later. I'm just going off of what's on here, and
Bro, you're just doing reporting. There's nothing to hide.
other names on here that I recognize, but I will keep to myself because one of them is like my nephew, so I'll just keep that to myself.
Interesting.
Nobody will know who it is.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Gun to your head, Dub. Iquan Corsi, Yodi Mack. Let's hurt some feelings.
Who would I pick? Who would I pick?
Who would you pick to win in a game head to head?
And Cam, that is not from last year because 3 of the names that are on there, I can tell you right now, are guys that were not on their roster last year. Just so you know.
I love Yodi. I do, but I'm gonna go a slight advantage to Iquan because he's more elusive than Yodi. I think Yodi's the better pure passer than Iquan Corsi, but Corsi can keep plays alive with his feet, as he did on that game-winning touchdown against OTT last year to complete that comeback.
And who was one of the quarterbacks that rotated in for OTT? I don't know.
Well, anyway. Yodi along with a whole lot of other people.
That's what I'm trying to say is that the Hunters are throwing this Yodi Mack is our answer thing, and want praise for it. And I don't think it's a bad look because I've publicly said that I think Yodi Mack is a good quarterback and that he deserves
he's a very good pocket passer, and he's
but
very accurate.
Guess what? Without doing the joke thing, because I don't want to turn it into that. And how are never mind. Just look at the guy. Look at a picture of him standing there in a football uniform, and then fill in the blanks that my dumbass would then fill in, right? And I don't want to do that. But anyway, you can't come onto the chat of a preseason poll reveal and with your chest bloviate with any with any confidence from the people listening to you complain that being disrespected on a preseason poll when last season I believe the Hunters won 2 games or 1.
Hunters won last year. I think they won 1.
Yeah, exactly. And they had OTT dead to rights or no, that was the Pitbulls. Never mind. So if the Hunters want to be one of the top 7 teams, listen, I'm on everybody's side that the Renegades being up there is ridiculous, right? But if the Hunters want to be on the top 7 teams, I'll say this: it's not going to be done on the comment section of this video.
Nope, it'll be done out on the football field.
And
realistically speaking, it's because you got guys on the East Coast that feel our lower tier teams cannot compete with their lower tier teams.
Well, here's the thing. Let's be honest. With the contraction of the division having less teams, the Gold, the Hunters, and the Stealth, to me, should be a better out for the top tier opponents. But
tougher out.
Jumping into the top 7 by adding Justin Shepard, Savion Cunningham, and Yodi Mack is the guy who's going to lead the team to be one of the best 7 teams in the country. That's a show me situation. Which, listen, I love that a guy like Bino. I love that a guy like Bino is defecting from the champs, has a ring, and says, "All right, now I'm going to make a name for myself." I'm down with that. And if he can cover
the thing about it is we don't know who's going to be taking his position on the Insomniacs, and from my understanding, they reloaded. So again, Sunday is going to be a fun day.
So Sick with It by 20.
Which, by the way, it comes up to you March 16th. Season number 11. Starting at 1 p.m. I'm mostly cut out too.
To the side. I'm trying to stick my
Only
head to the
only this person's head you can see is Chris.
Oh, because
There you go.
because he popped
yes.
out. You could pop out.
Season
No,
11.
I'm popping. I can't.
He's popping.
I'm suffocating.
you're
A7FL.TV.
in the middle. You don't got a choice.
1, 4, and 7 p.m. Eastern. Go to A7FL.TV. Also on Fox Soul. Also globally on DAZN. Check local listings to where you can find the A7FL coming to you this Sunday at locations of you. Now, just one more reminder for those in Nevada, just for week 1, we are at Pinecrest, Sloan
Thank you.
Canyon. That is in Henderson, so that's
Only half an hour from me. Not bad.
Yeah,
Only
and
half an
Vegas
hour.
is huge. So if you go to the wrong field, you might miss the first half. Vegas is
So
an
again,
enormous fucking
Pinecrest
city.
Academy, Sloan Canyon. That is the place
All the
where
way
week
out
1
St. Rose.
is where it's taking place. So don't forget
wait.
that. Yes, indeed. Fun to see be back in the booth with Chris. We don't know if the Asgardian's going to join us. We don't know if he's going to be playing. Hopefully, we'll see an Asgardian sighting. But that remains to be seen. But nonetheless,
I'm trying to get a hold of that Asgardian. He won't even call me back. The bum.
well, right now he's in the Mile High City playing with the Rockies home field at Coors Field.
I'm gonna text his ass. Maybe he'll drunk text me. Right now, it is showing at 8:00 at night. Well, it's not 8:00 at night. I don't know why it's saying. Oh, okay. Right now at 7:27, it's going to take me 32 minutes to get there.
32
no
manly
traffic.
minutes.
Yep. So hopefully Sunday they can all just part the Red Sea for me, and I could get there in about 30.
That works too.
Yep.
We'll have the iPad ready on the ride over.
Yes, indeed. But folks, thank you for chiming in, and happy opening day to all of us here from the other side of the ball. We will see you on episode 126, to where we will recap what we saw in week 1. For Corey, for Chris, and for Scott that did peek his head in for a few minutes. Yes, indeed. Good luck to everybody, and also please, players, stay healthy, because, like we said, the only reason why we get to do this job is because of you, the players. But nonetheless, we will see you next Wednesday, same bat time, same bat channel, and we'll see you on the other side of the ball. Good night.